I'm Linda Jewell, coordinator for today, and our topic is speech pathology services, and we're so excited because we have a new one in town. She's Devon Burke, and I'm going to let her tell us all about Channel's rehabilitation on 2nd Street. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, hi everybody. I'm Devon. I am a speech pathologist from originally downstate, but I just moved to the area from the Traverse City area to get married. So I moved over here around August of last year, and previously was working in outpatient rehab at Munson Hospital and doing some home care work. So I have a lot of experience in oncology rehab and neurological rehab for adults. So today my goals are to kind of explain a little bit about Channel's rehab and where I'm going with that, and kind of some of the support groups that I'm starting in town, and then do a little bit of a presentation on Train Your Brain program, which is a program that Dr. Callahan in Traverse City developed, and I kind of worked with him to provide the services following any referrals that were needed. So with that being said, I'll kind of start with, I handed some handouts, and anybody on Zoom, I can, if you want to just type in your email, I can send all of this information to you directly. So just go ahead and type in your email to the chat box, and I can go from there. So we'll start with the Breathe With Me support group, which looks kind of like this. So one of the support groups, and we're doing this monthly at my facility in the basement on 2nd Street at the center building. A lot of times with voice rehab, cognitive rehab, and swallowing rehab, a lot of the issues that are happening start at the lungs and start at the respiratory sufficiency. So what I want to do is I want to start a carryover program where everybody can get together, anybody that's suffering from COPD or respiratory dysfunction of any sort, to learn how to incorporate your diaphragm back into your day-to-day routine. So whether that be having a conversation with somebody, walking, doing ADLs like sweeping the floor or doing laundry or walking around your house, that's kind of where I'm going with that support group. And so that one will be held at 2nd Street at the center building once a month, and the dates are on this handout. We'll go to the Train Your Brain support group next, which looks like this one. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the Train Your Brain program and how you can lead a more brain healthy lifestyle. But this support group is for people who are going through this program with me and maybe are experiencing some of this mild cognitive impairment that we'll talk a little bit more in depth about in a little bit. And just to open some dialogue with other people that might be experiencing the same thing, and implementing new activities into your day-to-day routine, and how to keep that healthy brain on track. So that one again is once a month at the center building on the dates that are recorded on the page. The third support group is the social eating support group. So I work with a lot of people with dysphagia, which is an impairment in swallowing. So a lot of times after maybe they've gone through therapy and had some recovery, people will say to me, well, I don't feel comfortable eating and drinking in public. I don't feel comfortable going back into a restaurant because I just feel like I'm going to cough or I'm going to choke. And so there's this lingering anxiety. And so this support group is really to get people back out into the community with their loved ones, with people who have experienced the same issues, and carry over those skills that you've learned, those exercises that you learned, and the strategies that you've learned. So those are the support groups that are being held. That support group in particular is going to be held at various restaurants around town. So they are noted on the page and what day. So we'll start. Does anybody have any questions about those first and foremost? Yes, Vicki. So for therapy, to be seen individually by therapy, yes. I would prefer a physician referral, and that helps me submit things to insurance companies. Right now, I provide, or I can take Medicare patients, Medicaid patients, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'm working on Priority Health. So, you know, if there's questions about insurance, but the support groups are for everybody and it's no cost. Yeah. Anything else? All right, I'm gonna grab my drink because I get dry mouth when I present. All right. All right, so this presentation is going to be on the Train Your Brain program and kind of a little bit about mild cognitive impairment and what you can do to optimize your brain health. Push the space bar. Oh, I don't think you're in present mode. There you go. Okay, so first we'll talk about what a healthy brain looks like from the outside. So healthy brains is the ability to perform all mental tasks during the day. So being able to learn new information and make judgments upon what you're seeing and what you're hearing, using language efficiently and effectively, remembering things that are told to you or short term, things that you've done recently, things that you plan to do, which would be prospective memory, so something that you have to remember for the future. Motor functioning, so balance and walking, that all has to do with your brain as well. Emotional function, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. A lot of times when you see kind of this decline in cognition, you see a decline in how you're responding to things, whether it's more emotional, you know, you're not so in tune with your emotional health and how you're reacting to those things. And tactile function, so whether it be pain, pleasure, or temperature, maybe those are a little bit delayed or reduced. So some alarming statistics that, that we know today, to date, is that approximately 5.7 people in the US have Alzheimer's disease. And this is projected to triple by 2050. So failing brain health is a public epidemic. And there are some things that you can do to help prevent this and help to kind of turn this around before it becomes a little bit too far gone. So in 2018, 42.4% of adults were obese and 34.1 million adults in the United States smoke cigarettes. These are both very big contributing factors to decreased brain health. So factors that impact brain health, you know, there is a genetic factor along with Alzheimer's, you know, it is kind of something that runs in the family, but not always. And there are things that you can do to prevent and to optimize your brain health. So these might be some things that impact your brain health include whether it be a stroke or a traumatic brain injury, which is what we were talking about, Joe. That's like a significant event that happens to your brain. Mood disorders, so depression and anxiety, have a huge factor on brain health and how you're performing and have processing information. So you can see a big decline when there's chronic depression and chronic anxiety if it's not controlled. Substance use disorder, we just talked about cigarettes and obesity and alcohol use. You know, chronic use of these substances can impact impact brain health. And then disease, so something like dementia. Some of these things we can change, like the substance use. Some things we can't, like if you have a stroke or a brain injury, those strokes can be avoided at some level. Go ahead. So we talk about dementia, but what is mild cognitive impairment? So mild cognitive impairment is changes in cognition that are serious enough to notice, but not serious enough to impact to carry out your activities of daily life. So maybe you are still doing everything independently and you are still, you know, making appointments and going on with your day-to-day routine, but you're noticing that you can't really focus as long as you used to, or you can't really remember without writing things down, which is a very normal thing, right? We all use strategies to help our brain along, especially if you have a lot of things going on. But if you're noticing some of these changes, you may be experiencing some mild cognitive decline. So research of adults over 65 who participated in sessions of memory, reasoning, and processing speed training showed improvement in areas that persisted over 2 years. So after 10 sessions, those improvements maintained over 2 years. And so that's kind of this train your brain program that I'm trying to provide in this community is, let's get you in, let's do an evaluation, let's figure out where the downfall is, and then let's bolster it. Let's give you tools to support you and to exercise those functions. So I'm going to have you pull out your worksheet like this. It says, living a brain healthier lifestyle. And so this is an acronym that a colleague of mine made, and she lives out in Boston, Massachusetts area. And I think it's really nice to have an acronym because you can kind of go back to dancers. And dancers, we're going to break apart each letter and talk about what are those things that you can do in your daily life that are going to support you. And so D is disease management, activity, nutrition, cognitive stimulation, engagement, relaxation, and sleep hygiene. So we'll kind of break those up into each of their letters. So disease management. Healthy heart equals healthy brain in most cases. Controlling your blood pressure and diabetes. So if it's uncontrolled, you're at a higher risk of stroke. If it's uncontrolled, maybe your blood flow isn't reaching your brain enough, or it's reaching it too quickly and you're kind of experiencing this hypertension. Stopping smoking. Also another huge contributing factor to brain health, stroke prevention, and mild cognitive impairment. Increasing exercise and healthy eating. So, you know, that's not to say that you have to only eat a Mediterranean diet and you can only eat vegetables. It's all about moderation. It's all about, you know, looking at your habits and maybe even creating a picture of yourself. What are you doing throughout the week? And how can you incorporate something healthier to substitute something else? Regular checkups, going to the doctor, having them just look it over and talk about the things that maybe are an issue with you, because if you're not telling anybody about it, you're never going to get the help that you need. Fall prevention. So a lot of times you see a fall and then a huge cognitive decline, because whether you hit your head or you've kind of lost the balance and the endurance to participate in all of these daily living activities, a fall can really knock you down a peg. So talking about fall prevention and how you can reduce falls in the home environment is a really good way to manage your disease. And then dental hygiene. So with dental hygiene, that's going to lead into a whole nother discussion, but overall health is important. Your lung health is important. If your mouth is dirty, your lungs are dirty when you're swallowing, if you're not swallowing correctly. So going to the dentist, going to the doctor, don't wait until there is a problem, get ahead of it. All right, next one. Activity. Okay, so this is the second letter in dancers. So activity improves blood flow, which increases memory. So blood flow to the brain helps to make your processing time better, make your memory function better, make you kind of react a little bit quicker. Reduces the risk of Alzheimer's. And it stimulates a chemical change. So we talked earlier about depression and anxiety. So this is a contributing factor to that. So let's brainstorm. What activities are you guys doing on a weekly basis? Walking? Okay. How often do you walk? Awesome. Awesome. That's a great exercise for not only improving your heart rate, but keeping your balance and keeping your endurance throughout the day. Anybody else? Nice. Where do you swim? Awesome. Great. That's great. Yeah, me too. I can't swim at all. I'm a good sinker though. Yoga. Yeah. Vicki, you host a lot of stuff at the clubhouse, right? So yoga, what else? Anything else? Yeah. Yeah. So dancing, nice. What? Yeah, memory, sequencing, yes. Also the mind-body connection. So it's one thing to sit there and memorize a whole bunch of moves, but when you're trying to get your body to do what your brain wants it to do, that's a whole nother ballgame. So yes, absolutely, huge. Good. All right. Nutrition. So we talked about this one. It's not about revamping your total lifestyle of food choices, but maybe just choosing one substitute per day, right? Adding a fruit or a vegetable in there, or adding more water into your diet. Because for me, 9 times out of 10, I am dehydrated. I have not had enough water at the end of the day, and that's causing my headaches, and that's causing my fatigue. So increasing your veggie intake, less processed food that are high in fat and sugar. Some barriers to eating a healthier diet might include cooking less independently. So if you're having some of these troubles with sequencing, with following directions, with remembering, with even the stamina to stand at the counter or at the sink, there might be less eating or less cooking, I'm sorry, less cooking for yourself and more takeout, which could increase sodium and decrease optimal nutrition. And then financial limitations. So a lot of times I hear, well, I can't afford to buy organic foods, or I can't afford to do, the healthier choice. But there are a lot of ways to improve that. And you don't have to go to the little boutique supermarket. Just adding a few fruits and vegetables into your day-to-day, or even increasing water intake. So what could you do? What are some examples? Anybody? Anybody on Zoom can tag in too.
Because it allows you to put up your feet. So you're going to be careful of what you eat, because if you're going to put it in your mouth, you have to walk. So
Yes.
diarrhea, logging,
Absolutely.
and then even if you don't buy the premium one, happy at the bottom, it tells you how much carbs you have. We don't eat enough protein.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
think that oatmeal is good for us. But just herb not.
Right.
So that's just,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What was that one called? Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think it's important just to kind of see the patterns that you're doing on a day-to-day routine, right? For me, when I pay attention to what I'm putting into my body, I'm starting to notice, oh, geez, I ate a lot of bread today, a ton. And so it's good to kind of balance those things. And so, no, yeah, you can have a donut. You can have, go out to eat every once in a while, but overall trying to make healthier choices to optimize what you're putting into your body and therefore how your brain is reacting. Okay. Cognitive stimulation. So the buzzword for this kind of acronym letter is neuroplasticity. And so neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change through new learning. So an example that I like to use is, okay, I have a hard time remembering people's names. Okay, Joe, I met you today. But the reason that I remember your name is because my dad's name is Joe. And so I've been trying to put into practice this, this strategy for me, because I know that this is a weak spot on my end, is to figure out 3 different ways that I can remember your name. And so Joe, you're the same name as my dad. My dad's favorite color is green, and he lives downstate. And so you said that you're from downstate at U of M, right? You worked at U of M? Yeah, okay, so St. Joe's. So those are the 3 ways that I tried to connect a piece of information to Joe's name. And so if you think about, okay, I have to remember Joe's name. Joe, 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 and you're just trying to repeat that and connect one piece of information to that one face, it's going to be really challenging. But if I make 3 connections, then if I lose one of those, I still have 2 to rely on. So kind of creating more of this neuroplasticity. And to do this, you have to do new activities. And so what I try to promote in therapy is, hey, every day, do something that you don't know how to do, or do something that maybe is new for the week, and really try to see how many connections you can make and how fluent you can be with that new activity after a whole week of doing it. But the whole idea here is learning something new and experiencing new things to help create new connections in your brain. And that is neuroplasticity. So that's where, that was my example. Does anybody else have an example of a way that they do this in their daily life? What is your name, first of all? Mary Jo. There we go.
I'm wondering, I do have
Sure.
and so it is new every day.
Mhm.
I think
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do, yeah. So it's one thing with Scrabble and with Wordle and those types of word games. Yes, they're very good for attention. They're good for kind of some of that problem solving. But if you think about the exercise that it's doing, you are doing, it might be new words, but you are kind of doing the same task. So maybe you walk every day, and that's great. And if you walk, the same distance, you're not going to improve your stamina with walking. But if you walk a little bit further every day, or walk a whole new terrain, like if there's a few more bumps in the road, you're going to experience different muscle movements, different endurance levels. And so that's kind of another kind of segue that you can go on, is try to incorporate, yes, new learning, but how can you improve other functions of your body too? So I like the pickleball, I like the yoga, I like, those things that keep the mind-body relationship really strong. That's where I want to see it happening. Anybody else? That'll be a good one for you guys to brainstorm. What does that say down there? Yeah. And so there's no right answer to this, but it needs to be something that makes you happy and is motivating to you. So, Mary Jo, you might like Scrabble, but Joe might hate Scrabble. And so just doing Scrabble because it's good for your brain and it doesn't really fit in your lifestyle, don't do it. It has to produce joy. It has to produce some momentum in your life. Okay. Reading is awesome.
I like to read, sometimes I'll books home. Nonfiction.
Mhm.
Or even some of the fiction I read, will lead me to, for example, I didn't know about this part of Minnesota that's talking.
Yeah.
But it came up in this fiction.
Definitely.
So just read about something new.
Reading is excellent. Reading is excellent. I would further press you to maybe read a book with somebody else and talk about it. And yeah, like a book club. And it doesn't even have to be a book club, but maybe one other person that you decide, hey, do you want to read this book with me? Yeah, Linda. Nice. Okay, there's a book club in Lifelong Learners.
Do they meet once a month, you guys? And it's not the same book. That's what I like it, because you just come with your own book that you're.
Okay.
And at the end of that session, or sometime during that week, she will make the list of the books that.
I like that. So
I like it that I did belong to a book club where we all read the same book, but I like this one.
Yeah, I like that too, because you get to,
I didn't always like the ones in the book club at the same.
right. Right. I feel like I'm the same way. Like I always feel like it's if I didn't like the book, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to finish it. And then you're kind of obligated to. with your own, you could, even if you don't like it right away, you can just switch. Nobody knows the difference. Okay. Uh-oh. Go to the one with my face on it. Yeah. Okay, engagement. So the most dangerous place is the no news is good news. So a lot of times everybody goes to the doctor and they're like, okay, well, no news is good news. I don't need to know. If I don't know, it's good. But I want you to get out of this because I want that engagement. I want you to be asking questions. I want you to have the knowledge about everything that is going on with you and about other people. So I experience a lot of isolation with especially this population, mild cognitive impairment, early dementia. People started experiencing challenges and then they isolate themselves and they're like, well, I can't do things like I used to do and people are going to notice. And so I'm just going to stay at home. But that's the worst thing you can do for yourself because you're not engaging, you're not using your language, you're not using problem solving to figure out how to communicate this with other people and keep those relationships alive. And it creates this loneliness, which is an exacerbating effect of the mild cognitive impairment. It causes more depression, it causes more anxiety. And so it's kind of this cascading effect, this domino effect that produces a worse diagnosis and a quicker diagnosis. So engagement with others socially is so important, whether it be lunch with a girlfriend every week or a buddy every week. You know, maybe you go on a Zoom meeting if maybe you're not really a social person yet because of COVID and you're not really wanting to get out there and do all of these things. Schedule a Zoom meeting or schedule a FaceTime meeting with grandkids or something like that, just to help to keep that engagement alive. Okay. And then relaxation. So we kind of talked about yoga a little bit, which is really good for the activity, but also great for relaxation and improving your breathing, your mindfulness, your awareness of where you're holding tension, and maybe some of the worries that you are having about your cognitive decline. So some strategies that you can use are diaphragmatic breathing, which we talked about a little bit about in that support group, that Breathe With Me support group that we talked a lot about in that group. Doing some mindfulness exercises. So I know that there are a lot of apps out there that work on, you know, dedicated mindfulness to do some breathing and do some meditation on your app for like 10 minutes out of the day. Those are really good activities to do. Participating in support groups. If you're validated by other people, you're going to feel more comfortable doing all of the things that we've already talked about today. So making sure that, you know, you are talking about what's going on, which will then in turn help you relax about it. And then doing some progressive muscle relaxation. So I like to do an activity that helps me calm down when I'm feeling anxious or when I'm feeling stressed. And so how I kind of explain this to people is I take my 5 senses, right? And I count down from 10 seconds. And so every sense has a second. So you close your eyes and you really think about, okay, for 10 seconds, I'm going to think about just what I can hear. And that's it. So let's go ahead and do that. Close your eyes. Think about only the things you can hear, minus my voice. Yeah. Focus on your breathing. Okay. Keep your eyes shut. Think about only the things that you can taste. Keep your eyes shut. How about that you can smell? Keep your eyes shut. How about what you can feel? and then open your eyes and think about things that you can see. And so it's kind of a grounding activity to get back to your senses, to think about just what's happening to you at that very second and not all of the things that are going on in your day-to-day. So that's a really good activity if you're feeling super anxious or you're feeling really kind of bound up. Take a minute, go back to your 5 senses, 10 seconds each sense, and then end with what you can see and open your eyes. Does anybody feel a little calmer? Because I do. Okay, go ahead. Sleep hygiene. How's everybody been sleeping? Good? Yeah, good. My fiance is a snorer. That's okay. So sleep clears toxins from the brain. So think about it as a reset, right? You're having a really stressful day. Everybody says, you know, sleep on it. It's going to be better the next day. And it always is, usually is. Leads to more energy, better mood, better immune system, management of stress, and a reduced buildup of plaque that is associated with Alzheimer's dementia. So what I want you to do is think about your sleep habits. Pay attention to those sleep habits. What is causing you to stay up? Are you waking up 4 or 5 times in the night, and why? And talk to your doctor about it. Because if there's anything that you can do to improve your sleep hygiene, you should. Okay. So when we're thinking about brain healthy lifestyle, I want you to go back to the acronym DANCERS. And maybe every day you're thinking about one of those acronyms. It doesn't have to be an overwhelming presentation like this, but just one thing at a time. Today, I'm going to manage my disease. Today, I'm going to call the doctor and I'm going to ask these 5 questions that I've been kind of wondering about, but I'm just kind of ignoring because I don't want to bug him. Bug him. Go. And then the next day, maybe you're focusing in on your nutrition. You're writing down some things that are your goals for the week. Some things that you're going to include. Maybe you're going to drink 1 more glass of water during the day. Maybe you're going to eat 1 salad in the week. Whatever it might be. Pick it apart. Okay. So then I put this one just to kind of keep you guys engaged, but we've been kind of talking anyway. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions about dancers or about anything that we've talked about right now? Did it all make sense? Okay. All right. So if you have questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to, are there any questions in the chat box? Okay. So if you have questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to call me. My number is on the back of this one. There's also my email listed on the back there too. Yeah. So my fiance Alan works for Lafarge. Well, actually it's Wholesome now, just Wholesome. And so he works at the quarry. And so they rely a lot on the Great Lakes channels to move product. So moving up here, I wanted to tie in the idea of connections, of brain connections, of community connections, getting to know people, getting people to know other people. And so that's kind of where I came up with Channels Rehab is, you know, trying to incorporate the Great Lakes, the connections, the neuroplasticity, and yeah, good question. It's the first time somebody's asked me that. Okay. All right. Yeah, sure. Of this, yes. So, thanks.
My front runners, if I'm not familiar with, we have square dancing. We did have line. I know we haven't started back to the lines since the pandemic. We probably will. So free.
Do you,
Remember and pay your dues. Pickleball.
do you have a pamphlet of all the activities that you provide? Ooh, okay.
Oh, yeah, and is it every month?
I like that. That's the book club that you don't all do the same book?
No, the book club is actually once.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I guess any activities though? Oh, of course, sit down with the dominoes and.
Nice. Yeah, I love that.
But square dancing is new, and they said it's not fashion square dancing, it's.
Ooh, I like that.
So that, I think that would be fun. That's a great challenge. Big regular thing, because you.
Yes.
I
Mm-hmm.
think my father has done a good job of kind of covering a lot of areas.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I went to Wayne State for my undergraduate degree in communication sciences and disorders. And then I graduated from Grand Valley with my master's in speech language pathology in 2016. And then I started working in Traverse City, and then I moved up here in August. Yeah. Yeah. So there isn't a thesis that we did a clinical placement. So I actually worked in at the Abbey D Center, which is no longer a facility, but it was an outpatient facility for brain injury in Petoskey, Michigan. They also did some work in Traverse City, but Laura Lenke was the owner of that company. And then I think she sold it to start teaching at Grand Valley. So she was my neuro teacher. Mhm. So, yep, it was a lot of like clinical experience as more of a thesis, and then we kind of put it all together at the end. Yeah. Right. Right. Absolutely. And talking about mild cognitive impairment versus traumatic brain injury, that's a whole new series in itself. But I agree. I think that, and there's such a lack of support, especially with the new like auto laws and the reimbursement for that. There's a big pushback from clinicians I know that specialize in brain injury. And so, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. Thanks for this.